Well, I would normally say welcome back to the channel, but I think I just need to say welcome to the channel because after this weekend, we went from about 1,200 followers, subscribers to now about 6,200 subscribers. Thank you very much, Cleetus, for obviously having that impact. I just got home. Let's see, we got a couple race boats back behind me. So I am going to do a race report from this weekend. I would kind of have a couple ideas for some videos to tie into the Cleetus experience, if you will. His first time in a sprint boat, as well as obviously we're gonna keep updating everybody on our team progress. So what a weekend, holy cow. I'm pretty tired. We worked hard and we played hard, and man, I feel like our team really stepped it up this weekend to host Cleetus, to give him in a boat. We're still fighting the 146 and the 625, and man, it's just a lot of stuff going on, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Had an absolute blast. So without further ado, I think I'll go right into the boats. The 625 Kenworth boats, he's letting Mike Reardon and Josh drive that boat. They got a couple clean runs. Good to see that happening. I wait to see that boat and those guys in that boat to pick up some speed and start going a little bit faster. So I will now jump to the 146 because I think Cleetus is probably the highlight of the weekend. 146, that's the boat that Nicole and I have been tag teaming in the Group A 400 class, and we've been having a really good season, minus my one little flub down in Ontario, Oregon. In early about 2 weeks ago, I think that race was. Things have been going really good with that boat, no mechanicals. So got the boat home. It was time to do an oil change, clean the boat up. It was really dirty from, we've been having leaky valve covers and the distributor's been leaking. So we fixed all those, but the boat was just filthy and I had to get under it and do some pressure washing. Well, I'm a one-man show for the most part. Kelly Davis, awesome crew chief, but he lives in Alaska and I live in Washington State. So I kind of do a lot of this stuff in between races on my own. And one of those things is, well, you can see the 907 doesn't have an engine in it right now. And over here, the little cherry picker. Well, when I put the engine in by myself, I screwed up and inadvertently, didn't even know it until we got to the track, I crushed or crimped or whatever you want to say, the fuel line. So I will pause right here, turn the camera around and show you what I'm talking about. So here is the fuel tank down here, as well as the fuel, let's let it focus, the filter, and put the camera down here. I kind of have an extra loop in the line so that I can easily connect it over to the fuel pump over there. Well, when I put this in, if I can point right over there, and I'll show a still photo of that. You can see the proximity to the oil pan. Well, that line was more vertical up, and when I put the motor in, it came down and crushed that line. So when I put the engine in, came down on that fuel line, didn't know it, everything fit in there fine, and I think my biggest mistake is I didn't put it back in the water and properly test it. I'm like, well, everything was running fine, we just did an oil change, and off we went, or so I thought. So the other thing that we put in here was a new fuel pressure regulator, and so I knew that we had to set the fuel pressure for that. So Kelly and I did that Friday night after the show and shine. We put the boat in the ramp, did a couple revs, everything was fine, set 6.5 pounds pressure out of the regulator, and everything was running great. We reset the timing because I resealed the distributor in there a little bit better, and everything was fine until my very first run. I went first this time, Nicole went second. On my very first run, step on the gas, we launch okay, and immediately the boat starts sputtering and kind of cutting out, and didn't know immediately what it was, but it wasn't good, and it was kind of not safe to drive. So I made about half of a rotation and brought it back into the finish channel and onto the boat trailer to try to figure out what was going on. We figured out that it was, I said, hey, let's put it on the trailer and rev it up really quick to see what we can do. And we noticed that the fuel pressure was dropping down to about 3 pounds when we were under about 5,000 to 6,000 RPMs. And we couldn't get any more out of it. At idle, it was fine. So we sent Nicole out and said, hey, Nicole, just go do a half throttle run. Do not step in it because you're going to starve it from fuel. So just go get a clean run. And she was struggling with it as well. And I think the engine died on her first run as well. So 2 DNFs out of the 146 right from the start. Pulled the boat back into the pit area. And we just started going through everything. And so then we put my original fuel pressure regulator in it. I thought, hey, maybe this was bad. So I brought the old one with me, put it in, went to run again, and started up, sounding good, and off I go on the run. Well, about half throttle into it again, it starts sputtering. So I'm like, okay, I'm at least gonna get a clean run. So I just kept it about a third throttle until that was about the sweet spot where it wouldn't sputter and cut out on me. Finished, got a 62, like it felt like a 5-minute run. Anyway, I just wanted to get a clean running around the track just in case. So that was on my Q2, and I had a 62 something. Wasn't running again. So we're like, all right, Nicole, we're gonna scratch your run. We got to figure out what's going on. So hauled the boat back into the pit area, and I just started tracing, okay, what could have gone wrong? So I knew that I changed the fuel pressure regulator. So I just started tracing the lines. Lo and behold, that's when I found that crimped bent over line, and we knew that we had to fix that. So pulled it. It's really hard to get down in that engine bay. We literally had people holding by their ankles, crawling under there to get that line out. We had to rebuild the line. Actually, we cut about 2 inches off of it, and we're able to use that same line, not leaking. Okay, all is good. So now we're scrambling, go back out to the ramp. It's now Q3, which is, they decided to cut Q4 out because the day was going kind of long. Q3, my final time or final chance to get a clean competitive run and start the boat up. And now the upper fuel line was leaking, and it just wasn't safe to take out that fuel, just like Dean did in St. John. You start spraying fuel around back there, it's going to get on the headers. We're going to have a big fire. So Kelly made the right call, shut her down. Let's take it back. So we scrambled, we ran, man. Big shout out again to Burt Roberts and the Stars and Stripes. They had a spare line that just happened to fit perfectly. We threw it in there just in time to have Nicole jump in the boat on her last qualifying attempt. She jumped in the boat. She laid down a 50 something. It was enough to get her in the 8 cut. My fastest time was the 62, so I think this is the first time in my life I did not make the 8 cut, and I was really disappointed that we had to get rid of that 4th qualifier because I know we would have done it. We fixed the boat. It was ready to go. We just ran out of opportunities to try to do good qualifying. So Nicole was able to go into the 8 cut. She didn't go beyond that. She did lay down her fastest run. She increased her time by a lot. So kudos to her. She is starting to get more confidence. Like I said before, she's starting to kill it. So obviously the biggest part of the weekend was having Cleetus and Spencer coming in and driving the 208, tag teaming it with TJ and Keith. Huge opportunity for everybody. So we'll just talk about, Cleetus came out in his licensing run, absolutely crushed it. I'm like, man, he's got this stuff. So we went right into the qualifiers, and he was laying down some really good runs. TJ was laying down some really good runs. They were making some really good progress. Had one issue. One of their ignition wires had popped off, and it actually died on Cleetus out there. I don't remember if that was Q2 or Q3. I think it was Q2. The engine died on him out there, but he had some really good times. TJ had some really good times, and they went going into the elimination round. I think that at that point, Clint Birch in the Fear Not was in P1, and I think TJ may have been P2 and Cleetus in P3, or that might have been reversed. I'm not exactly sure. So that drives the order in which you run in the 8 cut. So they go out there, and they all 8 boats in that class, they go out and do their qualifying run, or their elimination round, essentially. So they're going to go from 8 boats down to 4 boats. And lo and behold, Cleetus goes out in the 8 cut, and he lays down the fastest run of the day in that class. Flat out, it was the fastest run all day long in the 8 cut. So what that does is that puts him in P1 going into the 4 cut, which means he gets to run last. TJ, I believe he had the third fastest time in the 8 cut. So it went the 4th boat, then TJ, then Clint Birch, and then Cleetus was going to run last in that 4 cut. TJ goes out in the 4 cut, and he comes around a pretty high-speed corner and hits his own wake a little bit, gets a little bit out of sync with the boat, clips a bank just slightly, and the boat goes up onto a bank. And the problem was it was so steep that he took water over the back of the boat. And we have the Hedeman upswept headers, and lo and behold, the water came into the headers, into the cylinder heads, and completely submerged the distributor as well. We're like, oh no, like we just killed Cleetus's opportunity now, because that's the boat he's about ready to drive in 2 runs later. So we're like, oh no, we literally just killed Cleetus's time. TJ just took himself out with a DNF, and we're like, oh, this is such a bad inning. They pumped the safety crews out there. Awesome job all day, by the way. Pumped out the boat. They towed it in. Meanwhile, Clint goes out and does his turn, and the whole crew, so proud of this moment for our team. They pulled off both headers. They pulled all 8 spark plugs. They pulled the distributor off. They cleaned it out. They threw brake clean in there to try to dry out the distributor. They cranked the motor over. There was water in the cylinder heads. They cranked the motor over, and TJ's like, I don't care, Cleetus, if the motor starts, you're gonna go run it. He did shut the engine off, so there was no fear of having, essentially hydro lock and bending rods or anything like that. So that wasn't a concern. It was just like, oh crap, there could be water in the oil system, and now this is like kind of a risky thing to do. But TJ, love you, brother. Like, he's like, Cleetus, just go. If it starts, go. So they're scrambling. You got a 5-minute clock is all you get on the boat ramp to try to fix any problems. Well, by the time that they'd started working on that thing right away, from the time that Clint was doing his run, they did all that work in 6.5 minutes. And the crowd just it just erupted when that motor fired. And I think we all breathed a huge sigh of relief. So this is the final run. Cleetus is going out in the 4 cut now to go into the final. So he's going to be head to head with, now at that point, Clint was the fast time in his boat. It's fired up, and like we just all freaking out. Cleetus goes out there and he makes his run, and I hope I'm not stealing his thunder, because I'm sure he's going to do a full video, but I'm sure his followers, I'm not going to be a threat to his story. But he goes out, he's flying, and actually, side note, he takes off, and there's crap in the pump from when TJ went ashore, and we forgot to check that because we're so worried about all the water that was in the motor. That was our concern, and we forgot to clean out the pump. So you could tell that there was some grass in it. It's sputtering. Cleetus had kept hammered down, and the faster you go, you have a better chance of pushing that grass through, and it did clear out. He's smoking out there, coming around that same exact corner that TJ did, hit that same wake spot, got a little cattywampus, a little bit out of sync with the boat, and lo and behold, he ended up parking it about 10 feet away from where TJ did the exact same thing. It was obviously disappointing, but it was also awesome to see that like the day didn't end on the boat trailer. It ended out on the track where it should end. So I think Cleetus is hooked. So proud of like our whole team, and honestly proud of Cleetus. He drove the crap out of that boat. Everybody was blown away. It was just an awesome honestly display, like, and everybody. TJ, you killed it too. I'm loving that Cleetus put the pressure on you, because TJ's starting to push that boat now too. Getting more and more comfortable with it. So I can't wait to see what comes out of the 208. And now I'll give you a quick update on the 907 and what's coming up next. So this is the 907. This was, remember, the twin turbo boat. It's this boat I've been working on, and I have that new engine, the 500 cubic inch small block, billet block, coming from JRE Race Engines down in Australia. And I'm honestly just trying to get this boat ready to go, to plop the engine in and go. One of the big things is we're running methanol now, and my fuel tank, I've come to find out, it actually is big enough, because you almost burn double the amount of fuel. Not ideal. We're gonna keep the 9-inch pump in here, and we're trying to work with some blades that will work with that 500 engine. A couple things I've been working on. I have kind of done an improvement on my gas pedal down here. I'm gonna work a little bit on the steering system, but everything, this boat, this is how it was together. So there's not a lot to do. Did some work back here. Let me turn around so the sun isn't exactly glaring on there, but did some carbon fiber control arms and some bracing for the steering system, and just getting this boat ready to rock. And as soon as that motor shows up, we will be ready to go. So with that, I'm gonna sign out from, I guess we'll call this Jolly Rogers headquarters right here, and we'll catch you next time. Again, to all of everybody that's come and found our channel, thank you Cleetus for sharing it. And we'll keep, I'm gonna kind of switch over and do more racing stuff. So for now, peace out.